Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, where today I'm going to do a new type of video. I've never done this before, but I think with how frequent the Titan events are becoming in the game, I think it's going to be important going forwards to try to come up with plans for dealing with these. I mean, we used to do these back in the day with the fusions, and then Plarium eventually came out and actually gave us proper sort of fusion plans, as it were. Yeah, let's dive in. So I've put this together. It's the first time doing one of these. Like, give it a thumbs up if you like it, and obviously, give me any feedback in terms of the how I could present it. For instance, I realized I used light mode in Plarium Play. I'll probably use dark mode next time. But hey, there we go. Like, we've got our traditional fusion plans, and here we go in with this. So first of all, here we go. It's the Blademaster Titan event. I basically took it off Plarium Play in the events tab. By the way, you can find that by coming to Plarium Play. I guess you go to all games or my library, Raid Shadow Legends. You click into events, and ta-da! There you go. So I basically smushed this together. It took a little bit of work to make it look not awful. And I sort of grayed out the stuff that's not relevant. And these are the events. We have to guess a bit in terms of how many points there's going to be. What we know, the only thing that we know for sure is that there are 950 points in the first week, 750 in the second week, so with a maximum, therefore, of 1,700, but you only need 1,500 to complete it, right? So that's sort of what's going on here. And you can see, for example, milestone 4, you need 1,000. For milestone 5, 1,500. So this is my guesswork, bam, for how much this might be. You can see I have thrown in an extra event. I think it is possible. This is not certain. So you could distribute those 200 points elsewhere within the second week, right? If we add up week 2, right? So today is the 20th, assuming the 27th being week 2. If we add all that stuff up, we get 750. So if there is no surprise deck of fate, which I think there's a very good chance there could be a deck of fate or something like that, you'd have to redistribute those 200 points elsewhere. Unfortunately, bad news, likely into Dungeon Divers 2 and Champion Training Event would probably be where those would go. But generally speaking, you can see this is what I think is going to happen. Your typical tournaments, like your dungeon tournaments, I think are each probably going to give 50 points. I think the classic arena tournaments probably also going to be giving you like 50 points. Artifact enhancement events, probably 50 points. And then we've got the big bucks events. We've got one already in game, which is Dungeon Divers 1 for 200 points. And Dungeon Divers 2, which starts on the 26th, though I'm technically including its points within week 2 here, because it's mostly in week 2. I'm going to say, seeing as that is 1 day longer, it's a very long Dungeon Divers, I'm going to say it's actually going to be like 50 points higher, is my guess. Certainly, we can talk about it right now. This first Dungeon Divers, 30 points is super easy to get. 70 points is quite tough. And then, interestingly enough, there's another 100 points, which is very tough to get, yes, but it's not that much further than the 70. And this is going to play into a lot of the strategies we're going to talk about here in this video. But yeah, this is my guesswork. Of course, let me know what you think. But this would be sort of my best guess as to how things are going to go. I'm predicting probably a very big chunk of points here in Summon Rush. And again, I think the big question, we'll find out, I suppose, on Thursday when the Champion Training Tournament goes live. It could be 250 for Champ Training and 250 for Summon Rush, right? It could easily be, or it could flip either which way. But yeah, we shall see, right? We shall see when we get there. But this is sort of my guesswork for what is going on. I've given the feedback to Plarium before. I'll give it again. I really think we should, it should be like a fusion. They should tell us how many points are going to be up for grabs in each of these events to make our life easier planning. It's basically an entire fusion. Yes, but this seems to be the new thing, right? You've got fusions, and then you've got Titan events between the fusions. You're either always in a Titan event, or you're always in a fusion, and they're basically the same, right? They're basically the same. Titan events, I'd say, are probably harder overall, though. But that's what's going on here. In terms of how we break this down, I've sort of looked at this as, okay, what do I consider to be easy points? What do I consider to be medium and hard? So I think for easy points, I think both classic arena tournaments are easy. I actually think both artifact enhancement tournaments are easy as well. Some of you, probably a good chunk of you, might disagree with that. So feel free to consider those as medium difficulty or even hard if you want to. For me personally, like if you only upgrade gear during artifact enhancement, I don't really see how you can struggle with it. Obviously, if you're rolling up gear constantly outside of it, you're never going to stand a chance. But if you save your silver for artifact enhancement, I find these to be not that bad. But your experience may differ. I'm putting them as easy because for me, that's what they are. Interesting enough, we actually have two Fire Knight tournaments, right? We're starting with Fire Knight. Then there's actually a second Fire Knight tournament later on in this event, which is kind of funny, actually. So we've got two Fire Knight tournaments. I think Spider, Dragon, and Ice Golem. I'm counting all of those as easy as well. So you put all that stuff together. I think there's 450 points here that are pretty doable for everyone. I mean, certainly the Classic Arena, and I think the Dungeon tournaments, they're all very doable just with like your daily arena tokens, your daily energy. I think you save up all your silver, you should be in a good spot. So with 450, we can certainly get the one star. We can certainly get the 2-star. We can even make a fairly decent stab towards a 3-star Blademaster Soul. I think with very little hassle. So that's part one. That's looking good. We come into the medium. This is where things become more complicated. So what I'm going to say for this, let me scroll down here. Yeah, I'm considering 450 points of this to be medium difficulty, and you can probably tell already, well, if we need 1,000 for the 4-star, 450 are easy, 450 are medium, we're going to need to do a little bit more. So I'm saying Dungeon Divers 1, which is on right now, I think the 100 points is sort of medium difficulty, right? Considering you're going to do Fire Knight and Spider, do both of these during Dungeon Divers, it's going to get you a good chunk of the way there. So getting 100 points of the 200 should be, I think, medium difficulty. I don't think that the two tournaments get you there, but they'll get you most of the way there. Same thing with Dungeon Divers 2. I'm going to say there's probably 100 points in Dungeon Divers 2 that are going to be reasonably easy to get. And again, you would sync up Dragon and Ice Golem with that, even Fire Knight. So I think that the lower points in Dungeon Divers 2 should be sort of medium difficulty. In Champion Training 1, I'd say it's probably 100 points that are doable without too much stress, and then the higher points be quite tricky. Champion Training 2, I think likewise, 50 points of the 100 I'm predicting. Again, reiterating, all of these are predictions. And then in Summon Rush, I'm going to say, maybe 100 points of the 300, if that is how many there are, should be fairly doable as well. So I think 450 approximately points should be kind of medium difficulty. When we go into hard, the stuff I consider to be hard then, basically enough is basically getting all of the points in Dungeon Divers 1, all of the points in Dungeon Divers 2, and then maxing out the champion trainings. For me, these would be the easier ones overall to target. Champion training are the easier of the hard. You could arguably even put those into medium, and maybe I should, as being ones that I think are quite doable. I say the Summon Rush at 200, and then I think Deck of Fate, if there is a Deck of Fate. Again, this one is so hard to know because you like there might be nothing. this might not even exist, or it might be really nasty. Like I think the Fatalis Blademaster Deck of Fate that came out of nowhere and surprised people in the Lunar Titan event, right, for the Zinogre Soul. I think that surprised a lot of people, and there were a lot of people that got stuck going, "Oh, I didn't expect a Deck of Fate, and now I have to do it if I want to, finish this Titan event as I'd originally planned." Right. So I'm saying surprise Deck of Fate I consider to be quite tough. If you're trying to, like, it makes it quite difficult then, like, if you're trying to max this out, right, if you want to get the Eternal Soul Stone, I would say, unfortunately, you basically need to do everything except that potential Deck of Fate, or again, you can, it's quite appropriate, really. You can gamble. You can roll the dice and Deck of Fate, flip the cards, whichever way you want. Expect 200 points there and that you're going to do it, and then potentially skip 200 elsewhere. I would say if I was going for the 1700, well, let's not go for that. If I was going for the 1500, what would I do? That's kind of difficult. I think it's going to depend on how difficult the Summon Rush looks. That would be a high priority for me to skip, which is also why I've thought they'll probably put quite a lot of points in there. Summon Rush should be a high priority skip, or Deck of Fate. I'd personally be targeting one of those as being the ones to skip, and I'd make a judgment call based off of the Summon Rush. Yeah, like, so if I'm going for 1500, that's what I'm going to do. For me, as you guys know, I'm probably going to more so aim for the 1000 points. I think the 4-star soul is nice. There's good rewards here. I think it's pretty doable. So for me, I'm going to do the easy stuff. In fact, let me draw it on here so it's easy to do. What am I actually doing? So I'm going to do Ice Golem. I'm going to do Fire Knight. I'll do the Classic Arena. Artifact Enhancement, Artifact Enhancement. I'll do Fire. Actually, go from... you know what? Let's actually go from left to right. That's more... Makes more sense. So I think I will actually max out this first Dungeon Divers. I'm going to do the full 200 to put me in a good spot moving forward. I'm going to obviously do Fire Knight. I'll obviously do Artifact Enhancement. Champion Training. I might actually do this full thing as well. I will definitely do Spider, Classic Arena, Dragon. And this one is more, that's definitely a maybe. I'll do Ice Golem. I'll do that. And I'll probably do Fire Knight. Artifact Enhancement. This is a maybe. This is, again, these are very much maybes. So for me, that's sort of what I'm thinking. In fact, I probably come in and say, actually, I'm just not going to do Summon Rush. Deck of Fate, it will depend on what else is in there. Like, if they do a Deck of Fate, what would it be? If you had asked me a day or two ago, I would have said, oh yeah, they'll do a Deck of Fate for Nergigante Archer. Of course they will. But now we know that the Champion Training Tournament is going to be giving away that quote unquote guaranteed Nergigante Archer. So I think it's very, very unlikely they would do a guaranteed event for her after putting her as a first award for Champion Training Tournament. And her soul's in there as well. Interestingly enough, this one is interesting. We had a guaranteed Alatreon, and we had a soul for him in the path. We had the Fusion and a Titan event. We had the Champion and Soul guaranteed for her. Rathalos, Blademaster, we've had him from the login. And now guaranteed Soul from the Titan path. For the Archer, you've got both her and her Soul is guaranteed for the Champion Training Tournament. We have had guaranteed Fatalis Blademaster. We've not had a guaranteed Soul for him. I think it'd be pretty poorly received, though. I think people don't like this champion. I think the reviews speak for themselves. I think he's fine. I think he's decent. He's very tanky. His damage is fairly low, but he's very tanky. And you know, the permanent defense decrease is quite nice. I personally would like to see him get a small damage buff, but I don't want him to be OP. But like, I've got him, so I wouldn't say no to a small buff. There could be some sort of I think that would be a real hard sell, though, and that would be my worries. You come to the end of this, go, I'm relying on these 200 points, and then it's like, oh, pull for like split souls for Vitalis Blademaster. Would they actually do that? I don't know, but I'm not sure if there's any other champion that's standing out to me right now as being an obvious pick for a guaranteed, or any soul that stands out as being an obvious pick for a guaranteed. Sort of thing. So I'm not sure. It could be just one of those deck of fates they've done before that just gives you some gear. I don't know. Or maybe there'll be nothing. Maybe be a regular old champ training tournament, champ chase tournament. Like I said, possibly there'll be nothing. And instead these 200 points will be distributed elsewhere. Yeah, look, that is sort of my sort of plan on this, though, is I'll probably skip the Summon Rush 300. I'll probably try skip a bunch of this Dungeon Divers because can't be arsed with that. And yeah, I might even sort of skip this second champ training. Make life a bit easier for myself. And I mean, like, if I skip the two of these, like if I go, let me actually say, if I skip 300 and 500, and then I skip like part of this one right here, maybe I'll do that, you know, skip these. Let's say there's 500 points, skip those, skip 200 points in Dungeon Divers 2. It's not in a bad spot. Then I can still get my 1,000 points and still get my 4-star soul. That's definitely my priority, is the 4-star soul. And yeah, like I said before, I'd be kind of annoyed if I undershot I think the rewards here, even if you undershoot, like, hey, I'll take 5 Chaos Dust. I'll take a 6-star Speed Glyph. Like, all these rewards are good. So if I undershot, it's not the worst. Though, obviously, I'm going to make sure not to undershoot. I'll make sure to get his soul. But if I overshoot by a few points, like, hey, some multi-battles, big chunk of Superior Oil or Extract, those are pretty good as well. So if it comes along and I go, oh, you know what? You know, maybe I will go for a Champion Chase, or yeah, screw it, I'll max out Champion Training or Dungeon Divers. Like, I can sort of decide later on and be cool with that. So yeah, that is sort of my plan, my gist. Let me know what you think. Again, to put it in context, I'm pretty sure I added up right, but If I give them these scores, again, reminder, it is all predictions. This is all guesswork because we've got nothing else to go off of. That does give 950, which is what they said, and 750 then in week 2 if we go with this. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I thought this would be a nice sort of way to break it down and give you some insight, help you start to sort of plan out and think about what you're going to be doing for this Titan event, which is going to keep us busy for the next 1 week and 5 days or so. We'll see. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.